this is Naz here on SG1 Radio. How are you all doing? Enjoying your Sunday? Yes, it does seem like quite a nice Sunday actually. It does seem like, and because obviously because it's the New Year and the Christmas period. I should have said it the other way around actually, but yeah, that's me. I'll just said it myself. It seems quite nice. And today I'll be speaking with someone who lives in Toronto, but he has been brushing his Bangladeshi influences wherever he goes, and he's always paying homage to his homeland by singing in his beautiful native tongue. Can we please welcome Issa Farooque, as known as Farooque Bhai Project? How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is my first time having any kind of media relation with the UK, and we all know it's a hotbed for Bangladeshis, and I'm super excited to reach out to all of you.
Oh, great. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, it's absolutely amazing that you're joining us here on SG1 Radio. Just out of curiosity, does anyone ever call you by your real name, or is it Farooque Bhai Project all the way?
You know what? My friends used to obviously call me by my real name, but then as a joke, they'd call me Farooq Bhai because I wanted to like. Once I started doing this, they'd be like Farooq Bhai, and then they started calling me FBP, and now my friend just call me FBP, like in a very Bangla way. I feel like that just perfectly flows with the Bangla. It's like, hey FBP, ki obosta, you know. So it slowly went away from Isa, to be honest, even in my own friend circle.
That's amazing. And how did the name Farooque Bhai Project come about?
So, thank you for asking that. So my dad used to be known as Farooq Bhai, and I lost my dad when I was a
Yeah,
kid. But
I'm so sorry.
so it was always like growing up with this idea of a hero. Like when someone passes away, it's like, oh, he was so great at this, so great at that, and so it was always like, I want to be like my hero. So when I started making music, I was like, I'm gonna try and use the same name because it's my surname, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna call it Farooq Bhai Project, and it just stuck. I don't know why, whether it's timing or luck or the backstory, but it just stuck and it was awesome.
Amazing. And how did you develop an interest in music in the first place? Were you always musically inclined, or it's just something you realized maybe later on in life?
It's a mix of a few things. So as a kid, I used to
Mm.
see my dad was really into like playing the harmonium, tabla, but
Yeah.
never pursued it professionally. He actually went to school in England. He went to the University of
Oh wow.
Manchester. Yeah,
Oh
and
amazing.
yeah, he did his PhD from there, and he was a lawyer in
Oh,
Bangladesh.
oh, that's
And
fantastic. I'm from the
yeah,
legal profession too, actually. So yeah, I'm
oh
really
really?
amazed.
So in
Yeah.
Bangladesh,
During the
there's
weekdays, I'm a lawyer, and the weekends, I have a media hat.
amazing. Yeah. So my dad started this law firm in Bangladesh, which is completely focused on environmental law in the early 90s, and it was known as Bella. It's still there. It's Bangladesh Environmental Lawyers Association. So those are some of my links to the UK from that way. And for my music, like he played some instruments. My uncle was a professional musician in Bangladesh. His
Mm,
band was called Chime, and
mm.
he goes by his solo projects called Khalid. So he has some Bangla songs, Nati Khati Bela Gelo, Himalaya, Shorolatar Protima. So I seen it with my family, but it was never something I was interested in. So my mom forced me to go to music school, and she told me they're gonna teach me how to sing Bob Marley, and I was 6 years old, and I went,
Oh
and
my
it was
God.
actually Robindo Shangit and Saregama. So I didn't really like
Amazing.
it, so I was forced on me for a few years. But when I turned 15 or 16 is when I heard Lalon. So Pabon Das Baul, he worked with this British musician for his first album, Real Sugar, and it was Problem Dash and Sam Mills. So when I heard that album, I was probably 15 or 16. I was like, singing this kind of stuff is a lot of fun. And then when I moved to Canada at the age of 18 is when I first started singing in different bands. A lot of Pearl Jam, grunge, Radiohead, a lot of all that. A lot of British bands too, funnily. But slowly started with the Farooq Bhai project when I was 23 or 24, taught myself how to play guitars because everyone was graduating
Mm,
and just started writing and just went from there, really.
amazing. So, how does your family feel now when they see you getting the recognition that you finally deserve?
Uh, they're probably proud and they're surprised, and they have to spend a lot of time asking me to take it in and absorb
Yeah.
it and not just keep like chasing after what's next and to like,
Do you know,
it's there.
it's really interesting though, the fact that your family, really encouraged you to pursue a creative career because it's not always the case in South Asian families, South Asian backgrounds, because a lot of time preference is given to more
Yeah.
academically inclined career. And here is the opposite, and I think it's really inspirational.
Yeah, it is. But it was for both. My parents, my mom was pretty ruthless. It was school
Oh,
first. So I'm a electrical engineer. I work in the software field, and like I work in
yeah.
data analytics. I lead a data analytics team for Toronto Public Library, which is the world's most circulated library system. So I do this by the night, and I've just like been lucky to be here at the right place at the right time, I guess. But like it was very much a
Have you
hobby
felt
where
it
it just
been like
grew on.
balance?
I still do it. I'm like today's the weekend, and I have my media hat on, just like you are. And yeah, I
Yeah.
don't play too much video games, I guess, and I don't watch too many movies. So music probably serves as that hobby that other people would probably spend the time in somewhere else. So it's either I'm either doing music or reading everything online on Manchester United or trying to go through like Bangladesh cricket stats, like or watching
Mm.
geography now. So it's one of the
Oh,
four.
do you visit Bangladesh very often?
I try to at least once a year, and now as more and more opportunities open up, it would be more fun to put more of my vacation days towards that.
Yeah, that definitely will be. Yeah, I mean, I really love my Bangladesh holidays. It's been a while now. I think the last time I went was 2 years ago, and
Okay.
it did come up in my memories today that sometime last year I was in
Mhm.
Bangladesh, and yeah, I love my trips to Bangladesh, especially during the winter because the weather is so much nicer. I'm not a big fan of the heat, so I try and avoid the summer. But in the winter, it's definitely really nice to visit.
That's
But
when
no,
everyone
I'm
from
so glad.
Canada visits. That's when everyone from Canada visits. We try to
What
go
in
in the
summer?
December or in the February because it's so cold up here that it's a very nice change to be in Bangladesh.
It really is actually. You gosh, Canada's quite ruthless when it comes to the cold weather. Actually,
Yeah,
I've
I
heard
think
a lot about the cold weather in Canada.
yeah, I went for a walk today morning and my uncle's like, "What's the weather?" I'm like, -8. He's like, "You're out for a walk?" I'm like, "I just can't be at home the entire day. I need to do something." So, yeah, it's a
Um,
beautiful place, beautiful people, but really, really cold.
I'll be honest. Today seemed like a nice weather actually to go outside. Same as in England, but England is not as bad as Canada. The cold weather. Even then, I was too lazy. I was like, oh, it's so nice to go, but no, it's too cold. Maybe I'll stay indoors for a bit. But no, a few of my listeners have asked me to ask you this because obviously you've done some fantastic, you've come up with some fantastic music.
Thank
But where did the inspiration behind Obosta Buje Bebosta come about? It's a very
you.
interesting title, by the way.
See, I'm really into things that are apparent and interesting
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. Like, I feel like it's easy to complicate something and make it unique. And it's a lot harder to find something that's really apparent or really simple and unique at the same time in 2020 when there's so much content that has come out over the last 20, 30 years that's on the internet or on people's minds or on TV and so on. So I'm this self-financed, or at that point, I was this self-financed Toronto-based artist. So I'm just trying to. I got 3 studio sessions. I recorded 8 songs, mixed them with my producer Adam, and it was like I'm just trying to make do with what my resources were in every possible way. My friends helped me play in the album. They played different instruments and so on, and everyone was so accommodating of my views. So it was really awesome to have that, and that is probably what Abusta Bujib Abusta is. It's like trying to make do with what you got. So
You pronounce it really nicely, actually. I
thank you.
always get a bit hesitant when I'm pronouncing Bangla on air actually because I'm from Sylhet, so I speak
Okay.
very good Sylheti, but anything non-Sylheti, I'm not that so great at pronouncing. So
Oh, I
no,
grew up in
you
Dhaka, so
know,
that's my advantage, and you still
yeah.
probably speak very good Bangla.
Oh. Yeah, that's true actually. Because you know what's really interesting? You know when Sylhetis and people from Dhaka like come together, and it's just amazing how sometimes both understand each other so well.
Yeah,
But then sometimes there's also the Sylhetis will be like, oh yes, Sylhet is the best, and Dhaka's might be like, oh Dhaka is the best, and you know. But it's quite nice how that friendly rivalry at times is quite nice to see. I think
yeah.
at times.
I
Yeah.
think like the really strong regional identity of Sylhet is
Mm,
something that I really respect. I think it gives birth to a subculture that's
mm.
still in Bangla or very close to Bangla, but also very unique. I think that happens with Punjabi and India, where that strong regional identity gives birth to this entirely booming different subculture. I think it happens with Quebec and being like the only French speaking part of Canada.
Oh yes, that's true.
And in
Both
football, we're seeing that in Great Britain, that's starting to happen with Wales and their football team, where like that subculture of being Welsh is like really flowing through like their patriotism and so on. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
absolutely. And are there any hidden messages behind your songs? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, the message was very apparent and very out there in your face, like you can see in Obusta Buji Babusta. But as I've grown older, it's been more and more like a subtle message. I like a watch when it's very simple on one side and then you flip it and the mechanics are really cool. So it's a lot like that where you can hide layers of meanings behind your simple lyrics and just leave some Easter eggs here and there.
Nice way to put it, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very nice way to put it. I don't think I would have worded it any better, to be honest. But out of all your songs that you've come up with, what would you say has been your most favorite song?
It's really hard to put which my what my favorite is because I'll only be listening to my demos when I listen to my songs. Like I'll listen to my songs every once in a while, but I'm always listening to my demos. Like that's always my new favorite song is my new demo. But I think Shokaleo gave me the most out of all my songs so far. I think it gave me my first big break. It put me on the
Mm,
radio first time. It put me on Netflix. Now the movie that it's in is being nominated for Oscars from Bangladesh as its
wow.
representative. Yeah, and like, I was touching down in Bangladesh for my first show after Shokaleo, and it was organized by this label called Mothership. And I was just listening to Shokaleo on repeat, and it was just such a beautiful vibe. And I always make music that I like to listen to, and I think like it's the perfect length and it's the perfect
Yeah,
level of textures for what my taste buds or my earbuds want to hear.
very well put. And other than yourself, are there any other Bengali singers whose work you like listening to? I mean, who's on your music playlist?
Uh, it's always changing, but definitely Black
Yeah.
Zang. I think to be relevant, firstly to put hip hop on the Bangla map and make it accessible to and digestible for like a big part of the population has been phenomenal. And then being at like in prominence for 12, 13 years in a row without ever like having to really degrade your quality of music is something that I really admire in him. I like
Mm,
that. I like a lot of people who are doing different instrumentations. And then in Kolkata, there's this producer coming up called Joe's Joint, and he has this EP called Shopno Chariye, and not many people's heard it, but he's just trying to do all these different things to Bangla music, like you'd expect from Kendrick Lamar to do in his music. Like there's jazz samples coming in, there's gospel choirs coming in and all of that, and it's all in Bangla. And I think doing it in Bangla is so difficult because there's
yeah,
less baselines of what you can pick and choose from unless you're putting in lalon or Robindra Shongit and so on.
yeah.
So it's very interesting what he's doing. How Tasan's been in prominence is really interesting for so long, and how he's molded himself with different eras. And what Pritom is doing is phenomenal. I think he's re-energizing the sound of Bangla pop. And
Absolutely.
it's not like he's a part and like he's a part of my playlist, but I am like a part of Pritom's playlist, I feel now. Like I'm never gonna be the pioneer of the new Bangla sound. I'm just one of
Yeah.
the early adopters.
It's really interesting though. Don't you think as you know, over the years, the Bengali audience in general, their music tastes have also evolved over the time. Maybe if you think about hip hop, maybe 50 years ago, it might not have been that
Absolutely.
accepted as much as it is now.
Absolutely.
I
I've
mean,
seen
we're seeing more different types of music being played in the Bengali music industry.
absolutely. And like, since our birth, if you're an 80s kid or 90s kid, since our birth, this is the second or third time we're seeing this transition. Because
Hmm.
I remember seeing this transition or hearing about this transition and seeing about it on YouTube, because I like to dig up these things. Is there was a big transition that happened in the 80s when we're moving. Like, firstly, we moved from the Robindra Songit sound to the Adhunik sound, and I'm pretty sure there were people who didn't take it in right away. Then there was from the Adhunik sound to the Souls and Maksudo Dhaka, all those bands, their sound, the early rock, pop rock kind of scene. Then came Warfaze and like start of the rock scene, followed by the huge underground boom in 2004-5 onwards. And we were all a part of like the metal crowd where a mom was like, "This is not music, this is cha cha michi," and you'd be like, "No, this is actually music, mom. You don't get it." And now we're going through that same renaissance again, but as hip
Yeah.
hop is hitting the airwaves and hip hop is becoming more accessible to everyone. And I went from like a complete metal fan to a rock fan, a huge Radiohead nut, to now being completely into Migos and Gucci Mane and trap. And I guess you, if you want to hear something, you'll hear it, and you can't really choose your own taste. But I feel like that's been happening to a lot of Bengalis, where there's new generations who are liking the new sound from the get go, and there's people whose taste buds are also changing with time.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic as well. And speaking about times, no doubt, you would have heard that COVID-19 and the spread is everywhere. But how do you feel the COVID-19 situation has been for you? Have you had any of your plans being affected as a result?
It's definitely had like a emotional impact, logistical
Yeah.
impact on what everyone's doing. But at the same time, if I look at the positives as an artist or what an artist can do to survive during these times, is that
Mm.
there's been more Zoom interviews than ever. Like,
Yeah, that's
I've
true.
had so many interviews in Bangladesh with big personalities. I'm having an interview with you now on like SG radio.
On radio,
And
yeah, correct.
yeah, and then these things wouldn't have been possible unless there was this very, very like, unless there was the pandemic and everyone was made to r- refocus their lens on how they're gonna do things.
No, I think that's a really good point that you raised. Because obviously with every like tragic incident comes a positive as well. Because I'll be honest, since lockdown, I think I have literally broken my own record of interviews. The other day I was interviewing a friend and it was like, you must have broken a lot of people's records with your
Yes.
interviews because it's unbelievable. Because sometimes in one day I'm recording about 5 or 6 interviews as well, and it's because everything is more accessible, virtual.
Yeah.
You can interview anyone from anywhere around the world now, and it's just so much easier because before this pandemic came, we would have just thought, okay, telephone interview or
Mhm.
face-to-face interview. We wouldn't think video interview because I don't know, I didn't have much faith in Skype to
Mhm.
do my video interviews, but
Yeah.
Zoom and other platforms, they've made it so much easier to conduct virtual interviews that as long as you've got a camera phone or a laptop or an internet, we can do it. So yeah, there has been its ups and downs. Like, I mean, I
I
do miss going out, no doubt. I do miss actually doing interviews in a proper studio, but I guess the home isn't so bad.
Yeah, well, there's all these other things for sure. Like I love swimming, so for me, the pools have been
Yeah.
closed for I don't know how
Oh,
many months, 10 months. So miss that part of things, but I feel as a musician, I would be lying if I didn't say I gained more in 2020. That could have
Yeah,
just gone down to the quality of my music, but interviews wise, in terms of reaching out to more people, I think it was something that I was only thinking of outside of doing promotions if I was going to Bangladesh or something. Like it was
yeah,
virtually impossible before this new virtual world.
yeah, absolutely. So, how are you doing your music? Are you able to create your music at home?
So right before the lockdown, I finished my
Mhm.
last EP, Gin Tonic, and it was like race to time, 2 days to lockdown. Probably wasn't the safest time to go out, but I was like, I really need to shut this album, make it sound exactly like I want it to sound,
Mhm.
because people are gonna have nothing to do at home, and I just want to be able to listen to my content while like during this lockdown that's gonna be like indefinite. And since then, I've been buying beats online and recording of my out of my bedroom. I ordered myself like proper studio grade gear, and I saw Drake's doing that. So I was like, okay, if there's another man in my city doing that, I should get on it too.
Yeah, you should get on it too.
So I am working on my new 3-track
Oh
EP,
wow.
and I don't have a name yet, but maybe Halka Rupre Jhapsha.
Hmm.
But I'm still thinking of different names, and then that's gonna be a completely home produced 3-song EP. And I'm working on a Grammy-winning producer
Hmm.
based out of Toronto right now. His name is Alex Jarvis, and we are working on a song that's probably gonna be released after that. But yeah, I'm always working. I love this. I love making music. So
Amazing.
what?
And there's only like literally a few days left of 2020. So, what are your plans for the new year? Or have you got any New Year's resolution planned?
No, just hopefully more of the same. Improve the quality of my music. Be able to get those gigs, be able to get like maximize on the corporate sponsorships and stuff, so that I can make the quality of videos and music that I want to make. And I have just been so lucky to be able to put out the stuff that goes out in my head and bring them to life. And I hope I can do that in a scale which is international, which is internationally acceptable and digestible, where I can do my version of the same kind of quality of work that people like Master D and Mumsy Stranger are putting out. But it's just I
Yeah,
write my own stuff. I have my own way of writing, own way of singing, and I think it's going to be awesome if we as people of 2020 or 2021 can have amazing playlists of completely Bangla music that come in
mm,
many different genres. Like you can listen to an amazing playlist of Bangla music when you want to chill, or listen to an amazing playlist of Bangla music when you want to go to a dawat where you're
yeah,
not necessarily recycling all the songs that are from 2000 to 2010 or something like that. There's a lot
oh,
more new stuff.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
What words of advice would you give to someone who's looking to enter the music industry?
Uh, be unique. Be unique.
Yeah,
It's really easy to be good. Like every Bangladeshi sings, every Bengali sings, every other Bengali sings. So you are just as good as anyone else, really. Like I realize that about myself all the time. I'm just as good as anyone. There's million Bangladeshis are probably better than me. I just have to be unique, and I just have to have a package that is good from a video standpoint, cover art standpoint, from a lyrical standpoint, and from like a catchy standpoint. Because I really like stuff when they're catchy. Like that's my thing. Whether I'm making
yeah.
indie music or pop music, I just want it to be catchy.
I think that's the best way to put it. And so, how can our listeners keep up to date with yourself and your work? Are you able to tell us of any social media platforms you're active on?
For sure. I am really active on Instagram usually, and Instagram
Mhm.
is Farooque Bhai, Farooquebhai. That's my Instagram handle. All my songs are on my YouTube. All my songs are on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever you're using, Deezer. If you're really hipster and using Tidal, if you're in Bangladesh, Grameenphone Music. So yeah, any kind of
Oh,
platform you can look for Farooque Bhai Project, and you can find my music there.
oh, brilliant. Honestly. Whoa, Farooque Bhai, it's definitely been really great speaking with you. I'm going to have to dash off as well very soon because my sister, she's making really nice dinner today. And she's told me, make sure you wrap up your interview within 30 minutes.
For
But
sure.
honestly, it has been really lovely speaking with you and knowing your journey about to become the singer that you are now. And you really do make the Bengali community, the Bangladeshi community, really proud with all the work and the achievements you're doing. So for myself and everyone at SG1 Radio, we really wish you the very best. And do keep us up to date with the work that you're doing.
For sure. For sure. Thanks for having me. And I'd love to be back at the SG1 Radio. It was lovely interviewing with you.
Yes, definitely. Well, hopefully, when you're next visiting the UK, we can do a face-to-face interview.
I love that. I'd love that. Thank you so
Amazing.
much.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks to SG1 and the listeners as well. Take care. Bye bye.
Take care.